CSRD Area F All Candidates Forum. When you came in the door this evening, you saw that there was a program, a handout there. If you don't have one, I'll give you 30 seconds to run over and get one. And then,
if you've already done the above, you know that. I care about my community and I care about democracy. I don't pretend to know all the issues in Area F, but then I don't have to. That is where you, the people of Area F, come in. If you believe in democracy and want to participate in it, versus say a dictatorship, your job will be to keep me informed of your concerns and interests. It's clear that our permanent population is growing. From 2016 to 21, we grew by just over 30%. How much of that was due to people escaping COVID, I don't know. But we really do need to look at the future and determine what kind of community we want. The current long-term plans don't seem to be helping much. If anything, we seem to be losing more businesses than we are gaining. That trend has to be turned around. What are your thoughts and ideas on that? There are also a number of businesses that have been around for a long time. Their owners are looking to retire. But the current plan appears to be hampering that. If we also lose these businesses, how will we attract more businesses and more permanent residents? That's where you come in again. I need to hear about your ideas. What do you want in your community? The good news is that the issue is not dead. If I'm elected, I will hold public meetings that should have been held. I will also find a way for the ratepayers to vote on it. I will then follow whatever the majority decides. The issue here is democracy and the lack thereof. When a duly elected person becomes just another politician and believes they don't have to consult the people, then we no longer have a democracy. Instead, we have a dictatorship. Democracy, as you know, is government of the people, for the people, and by the people. And that means that our elected officials must consult the public and then make decisions based on that consultation process. And that is what I will do for you. Yet our current elected officials tell us that he was planning on raising our taxes. You go back and look at all the past issues of kicking it up with Jay articles, and you will find no mention of the funding request that was done only briefly by passing, and then only done after the fact. I say after the fact because even though the final vote had not been concluded yet, it was a foregone conclusion. Go to the CSRD website and watch the recording of the last board meeting, and you'll see what I mean. Why was there no public consultation on the North Shuswap Health Center funding tax increase? Isn't that what democracy is supposed to be all about? For the people and by the people? Is it because all parties concerned knew that the general population wouldn't support it? At least without some public consultation, an audit of their books to ensure that our tax dollars would be well spent, and a change in their policy such that all of us, who would be paying the bill, would have access to their doctor? You talk about a $25 increase. That's for a home valued at about $400,000. I recently saw a park model in Caravans West listed at around $350,000. So how much more is a full-sized home that includes ownership of the land and no monthly strata fees worth?
1 minute.
Both the federal and provincial governments are increasing their healthcare funding. So aren't we jumping the gun here? Especially since healthcare is their jurisdiction. The North Shuswap Health Center Society owns a clinic. What are their costs that warrant a $100,000 tax? Do you trust the North Shuswap Health Center to spend your tax dollars wisely? Do you trust Director Simpson to look after your best interests? Do you trust the CSRD to look after your best interests? If you vote for me, I will work for your best interests. And as you've seen, I've already started.
Thank you, Jay.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for coming out tonight. Appreciate that you've taken your time to come out and find out what is going on in the community, that you're caring enough to come out and listen to the people who would like to lead you through the next 4 years. My name is Jay Simpson. I'm your current CSRD director, and that's what I've done for the last 4 years. Eugene's talked about the health center and a number of issues. I'm not planning on getting into that at this point. That will likely come up later in the conversation. I just want to give you a little bit of background on myself so that you know my interests, qualifications, and why I want to do this. I've been in North Shuswap Shuswapian since I was a baby. My grandparents bought property out here in 1948, and I spent my summers out here ever since I was a baby. I knew early in my life that this was where I wanted to be, and through my working career, that was my goal, was to find a way to make it stick out of the lake. So getting into programming and systems analysis is something that you can do on a remote basis. And we eventually managed to make that happen in 2004. My wife and I moved out here onto the family farm. Shortly after that, we had a daughter, and now we've got 15 sheep, 40 chickens, and about 40,000 bees, but I actually haven't counted them lately. This is a community that I've loved ever since I was a baby, and I have spent my time working for the community in all of the time that I've been here. I've been chamber president, I've been president and chair and vice chair of the North Shuswap Health Center Society. I've worked with the Chase Rotary Club for 8 years, and I've always been involved in nonprofit organizations in the community. So working into the CSRD director position seemed like a natural after spending 18 years living and working and communicating with the community. I have, let's see where I am. I know that there's, over the past 4 years, last 4 years, I've spent working with the CSRD, with the board of directors there, with the staff. And we have a good working relationship. I know the directors, I'm good friends with many of them, and the staff as well. So when I work with the staff at the CSRD, I know that we can get answers quickly and actions taken care of within a reasonable time. So that is part of the things that I'm bringing to you. What I really want to finish off with saying is that the North Shuswap is where I want to be. It's the place that I have in my heart as the best place in the world. And as your CSRD director, every question I ask, every decision I make, every conversation I have with you as individuals in the community or at my town halls or wherever we're involved in getting together and talking about things that are going on, the North Shuswap is first and foremost in my mind. And I want to make this community a bigger and better place to live in through the efforts of myself and the input that you guys provide. Thank you.
Good, thank you, gentlemen, for your opening comments. We're going to move into the next section, which is questions that have been provided by the North Shuswap Chamber of Commerce. So first of all, the first question. Jay, you're going to be answering this question first, and then Eugene will follow. So the first question is, okay, do you support the Area F OCP in its current form as a blueprint for growth in the North Shuswap? Please outline your reasons for your position. So, do you support the Area F OCP in its current form as a blueprint for growth in the North Shuswap? Before we go, how many do not know what the OCP stands for? Official Community Plan. Okay, the official community plan for the North Shuswap area. Okay.
Thanks, Ted. So, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
I'd rather work without a mic. Yeah, the official community plan is kind of a blueprint for the North Shuswap that is built with a whole bunch of community input. The current one was built back in 2007, was published in 2008. And there were many community members that were involved in what that plan says right now. 2007 and 2008 was a significantly different period of time in the North Shuswap. Those of you who were here at that time will remember there was crazy development, there was all kinds of stuff going on, and I think the OCP, the Official Community Plan, kind of reflects that in that it has a tendency to slow things down. It puts a little more red tape, a few more restrictions in the way of development in the North Shuswap. So no, I do not believe that the current OCP is the plan that we should be following. Government says, well, the provincial government and local governments say that the OCP is a living document. So that means that it typically should be looked at, it should be reviewed on a regular basis. Well, the fact is that we haven't done that since 2008. So that takes us almost 15 years since the last time we looked at that. And things have changed in the North Shuswap in a significant way. So this document needs to be looked at. It needs to be brought to the community and reviewed in terms of what is happening today. What do we need today? But it's a completely different scenario than what we had 15 years ago. There's a number of other studies that build up to reviewing that official community plan. One of them is a housing needs study, which we have completed, and it basically showed what we expect, which is we need more affordable housing, we need housing availability, we need some seniors housing. These things are important. They are identified in the old OCP, but we haven't really been able to build that out yet. So that's a study that we need to do. We need to do a community needs assessment, which basically says, is the CSRD doing the job that we want? That's our opportunity to tell the CSRD, you're doing a great job, you're not doing a great job, where are they falling down? Anyway, these studies need to go in before we start a new OCP, but they all come together with community input. There'll be community meetings like this where we discuss and talk about the issues, and at that point then we'll go into a new OCP and hopefully build one that's better, that will provide future certainty for businesses and for the community in how we move forward. Thanks.
Thank you, Jake. Eugene, you want me to repeat the question?
If they want to hear it.
Go for it.
Yeah, Jay's right, it's a living document and it needs to be revamped. However, the North Shuswap vision and principles appear pretty good, and I agree with them pretty much. There are points within the document, though, that I have some serious questions, and they appear to handcuff future development. In particular, Principle 7 of the Sustainable Planning Principles regarding the need to connect its community water and sewage. Basically what it says is any new developments has to connect to community water and sewage. And as mentioned throughout the document, the liquid waste management plan prohibits the discharge of treated effluent into the lake. Issues around the liquid waste management plan have forestalled the provision of community-based sewage plans in both Area F and Area C, as far as that goes. Perhaps this issue needs to be revisited. The CSRD is subordinate to both the province and the federal government. That means we have to abide by their rules and regulations. In particular, Interior Health has their own level of rules and regulations that we have to abide by, and that's been hampering us a lot. As your area director, I will work with the CSRD staff and board as well as related agencies to address this issue for the betterment of our community. And part of that, my campaign manager and a former director has volunteered to help me a lot, and actually another former director has volunteered to be my alternate. On another front, the provision of building permits is something that I appreciate because it protects all involved, but the process for building permits is convoluted and time-wasting and needs to be streamlined for the benefit of our growth. People are telling me it takes almost as long to get a permit as it does to build a house. While Area F was the first to adopt building permits, they are now required through several other electoral areas within the CSRD. I also support BC Hydro's Power Smart program, especially the rebates on the more efficient, energy efficient and cost-saving heat pumps. The question might be now, how do we help those on limited incomes to afford the heat pumps in the first place? So as Jay said, it's a living document and we definitely need to revisit it, and we definitely need a lot more public input from all of you. Thank you.
The next question, name 3 specific plans and how you are going to move forward with them to foster economic growth in the North Shuswap. So 3 specific plans and how you're going to move forward with them to foster economic growth in the North Shuswap. And Eugene, you'll start with this.
Okay, I believe that we should consider going back to having a CSRD development manager. Since the CSRD has switched to the Economic Development Society, I don't see where we've made any forward movement. Full-time manager at the CSRD will again provide focus and direction to the portfolio. My mom always said, it's a damn poor outfit that can't stand one boss. Second, I would work with and encourage the Chamber of Commerce to be more involved and engage prospective businesses in terms of economic development opportunities. The Chamber does have CSRD funding to do just that. This would be coordinated with a subcommittee from the Chamber who would report to the Economic Development Manager. Basically, I will ensure that there is much more community involvement in the entire process. I will meet with any and all organizations who invite me to their meetings. I will listen to what my community has to say. I will try to work towards ongoing economic growth while sustaining the rural way of life we all love and live. And I'll apologize about it. I thought we only had 2 minutes for this, so I had to pare her back. So thank you.
Do you want to have a comment?
No, that's good.
Jay.
Great, thank you. So 3 ideas to make economic growth in the North Shuswap. Well, I think truly firstly, and I think the best bang for our buck ultimately would be to encourage more off-season tourism. We need to get a year-round economy going in the North Shuswap in order to provide year-round jobs, year-round benefits, year-round business for our community businesses. So we need to expand winter opportunities, and we can do that in a number of ways. The Crowfoot Mountain Snowmobile Club has a brilliant mountain up there that is being underutilized. There's more snowmobiling opportunities between Lee Creek and Adams Lake up on the Adams Plateau. Potentially get cross-country skiing going in this area. So economic development, priority number 1 would be to encourage winter tourism. Number 2, increasing the population. Well, I guess that just goes without saying, but how do you do that? And one of the problems that we're having is that the zoning is very strict and somewhat limiting. And we need to work within our primary settlement area, which is Scotch Creek, to encourage more development there. We have 2 community water systems in Scotch Creek. Well, we have one now, which is the Saratoga one, which is on the west end, or pardon me, the east end. And we have a new one going in Scotch Creek at the end of Wharf Road. So at this point, we have 2 water systems going in on either end, and they will eventually, ultimately, meet in the middle. Yeah, no laughing back there. We have lots of space for development, and what is required, and Eugene mentioned it, is hooking up to a community water system. And so now that we have these 2 different water systems, we can expand opportunities for growth in Scotch Creek. Now, I've heard some comments that people say, well, why does Scotch Creek get all the attention? Well, and the reason is that it's our primary settlement area. It's the place where business, that's our downtown. That's where we have our businesses, our commercial center. And sure, there's a Scotch Creek here, there's a store up in Slista and Ross Creek, etc. But Scotch Creek is the downtown. So let's densify Scotch Creek. And that leaves the other outlying communities as rural and unrestricted as possible. Everybody can live their lives out in the woods as they wish, as long as we can densify Scotch Creek and bring more business, more opportunities, and more people into Scotch Creek. So increasing the population. The other one is fast internet. One of the things that is critical to bring anybody into the community is internet connections. And the North Shuswap at this point does not have good internet throughout. So bringing those people, TELUS or Shaw or whomever, into the North Shuswap and making them, of course with government grants, which are coming from the feds and the province, make sure that our community is covered. It allows us to go out and advertise to all of those people that are looking for an awesome place to live, but they need to be able to be communicating with their businesses in Toronto or Vancouver or Seoul or Singapore. 1 minute. Okay. So bringing good quality internet into the North Shuswap is critical to increasing the prosperity, increasing the benefits of the North Shuswap. So those are the three. Expand winter tourism, bring more people in with better development opportunities in Scotch Creek now that we have those water systems, and better internet. Thank you.
Last question from the Chamber of Commerce, and Jay, you'll start with the answer for this question. What policies would you like to see introduced to ensure that affordable housing is available in the North Shuswap?
Hi, me again. Affordable housing, that's on the topic, that's everybody's topic du jour almost at this point. We talk about it at conferences, we talk about it at the board level, we talk about it with our community. There are a number of things that we can do. In the short term, we need to tweak our zoning bylaws to allow more small lots, more opportunities for secondary suites, more opportunities for people to build affordable housing into their initial plans when they're building. I've been working with our planning department to increase the opportunities, and we certainly have passed variations that allow people to bring in a secondary suite in their garage or something in their home. What we need to do there is make sure that these secondary suites are not turned into a rental, like a short-term rental. They have to be full-time rental opportunities so that we can put the people that need those affordable homes into place. Secondly, we need to make sure that our development bylaws require that developers who are coming in to put in multi-lot developments are required to put in a certain percentage of small lots. I would suggest maybe 40% of lots should be required to be small, and that way we can get cheaper lots, smaller houses, cheaper houses, and that will provide us with rental and less expensive accommodation opportunities. On the other side of that, I think that we should also have developers have a maximum number of small lots so that we can have mixed developments with larger lots, smaller lots, and have a variety of sizes of houses. And this gives us a nice mix. It's like a green salad. You've got this lettuce and that lettuce and the other lettuce, and all these lettuces get together. And it makes it a good community. It doesn't, the concern, I guess, with a whole bunch of really small lots is that you end up with trailers or mobile homes and things that don't contribute to necessarily the best of communities. So with a mixture of larger lots and smaller lots, we can provide a mixture of people and housing and families in our neighborhoods. Again, we need to make sure that those houses are not turned into short-term rentals. CSRD does not have much ability to regulate that. We haven't, at least in the past, but we should be able to put on title that those owners who are building small lots, small houses have to have long-term, permanent, either owners or rentals. Thank you.
be remiss not to remind everyone that we probably already have some of the most affordable housing in the southern interior. That doesn't mean it's affordable to all, it's just a fact. So many other places are so expensive. With that, I would work with both the provincial and federal agencies in coordinating and implementing affordable housing initiatives if and when they become available. There usually isn't too much more that we can do. A developer wants to make money as much as he can from his land. Is it our place to tell them what they can do? Well, to a certain extent we can. We can do this via zoning. I don't know how much more we can influence and hold them to it once the rezoning has been approved. In conjunction with this, we should probably talk about rental housing. Availability of rental housing is compromised by the large vacation home rental business here in the North Shuswap. Touching on question 1 in the OCP, we should look to identify and suggest controls over vacation rentals to better ensure where they are located and what rental housing stock we have to better serve the long-term rental housing needs of the community. We also need to look at the recommendations of the housing study that was already done and see which ones of them we can implement. The problem with rental housing is that unless they are developed specifically for long-term rentals, without government involvement, there's no way we can ensure any new housing developments will go to long-term rentals. Perhaps Frank's development on the land around the hub could be utilized. One of his options included an apartment building. The CSRD does not control what is developed. The CSRD can only modify zoning. It's a highways department that controls and approves what the development looks like. And as we saw with Frank's development there at the hub, once it's rezoned, he can do pretty much whatever he wants as long as the province approves of it. So to that extent, I would work with Greg and Mel and try to get more rental and affordable housing for Area F.
Okay, that concludes the first half of this evening. We're going to take a 5-minute break. We're going to give each of you the opportunity to ask a question. Each of the candidates are going to answer your question. Let's start off. So, first question. Right here.
Hi, I'm Darlene McBain from Scotch Creek, and my question is, what would you, as a CSRD rep for our area, do to lobby the provincial government for pedestrian crosswalks in Scotch Creek, Solista, Anglemont, and Magna Bay? Every summer, there's been occasions when I thought someone was going to get killed crossing the road, either at the provincial park or to get to the Scotch Creek grocery store from the pharmacy. And I understand that the CSRD doesn't have the power to do that, but I'd like to know what you would do to lobby to ensure that our citizens can safely walk in our community. Thank you.
Thanks, Julie. We'll start with Eugene, and then the next question we'll start with Jay.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I believe that's the highways provincial thing that's going on. And there's just so much that we have to do to try and get in line with the provincial government to get them to help us do so much. And all of the total development that we want to do, most of it is controlled by the province. I understand what you're talking about, and at the hub, going into the park there, very important place there. For the life of me, I don't know why the province isn't stepping forward with that, why they're fighting that. I don't know what the rules are that they're using to not do that. But I say I'm going to fight for as much as I can for you, and talking to our provincial people who are responsible, our local MLA, as well as the Department of Highways people. I'll go to bat for you. That's what I'm here to do.
Thank you.
I have been working on this for a couple of years. Certainly the crosswalk at the hub between the park and the hub is a bit of a challenging situation in the summertime. I've been in conversation with the Department of Highways, the local manager, the regional manager, people up the chain. they have policies, specific rules that basically says if it has this much traffic, then yes, you can get a crosswalk. If it doesn't come up to that level, you just don't get a crosswalk because it isn't an issue for them. Now that's their issues, that's their problems. It doesn't help us. So I have gone to the minister and talked about it with him, but we're still at a point where we don't have that. So what we can do is we can still continue to talk to our local and regional managers from Ministry of Transportation and the minister and lobby for that. Those are the things that we can do. Ultimately, it is Ministry of Transportation choice as to how that works.
Next question.
I'm Ellen, I live in Silistan. I have a question for Eugene. Because you mentioned about democratic processes and about the health center society. Why do you think it's not democratic? I was the one who find all these, the last 2 years, informing the public, 2 mail-outs. If you tell me you were not informed about this and you talk about the whole process now, I wonder where you have been. Because you need to be involved in a community, you need to participate. And that was all done. And the process the Health Center Society did followed all the rules and regulations. There was nothing undemocratic about it. Jay was one of the CSRD directors who voted for it, which I think was great because we need a doctor. And I know a lot of people who are patients at the clinic, so I don't know where you get your information from. So how will you tell me I should do if you are apparently not 100% informed and don't even know that it has nothing to do if we trust the Health Center Society, the CSRD will check
Excuse me.
how that
Excuse me.
money goes. I'm done.
Make your question.
Okay, so why would I vote for you if you don't even know the ins and outs how that was done?
Thank you for that. So when I go read through the kicker, I didn't see any of these mail-outs. I don't recall anything about that at all. It may have been in earlier kickers, and I'll admit that I wasn't that involved before. I didn't plan on being here. I didn't plan on running in this election. I came out here to retire. And I wrote the letter because I questioned, where was all the information? And then I got a lot of people talking to me, so I ended up doing this. But one of the things you said was about serving everybody in the community and stuff. Well, you're the executive director of the clinic said, we are serving people from the North Shuswap, but I can tell you, and this is a direct quote, we're serving people from Salmon Arm, Sorrento, Kamloops, Chase. So it's kind of interesting because we need the service for our community, but people in other communities who can't get medical services are coming here because they can get in, right? Said Oliver. So that's kind of another reason why we should be receiving some form of funding. Okay, so if people were out there, and I may have seen them even, I don't recall it, but I may have seen people out there doing this petition. I didn't pay much attention to it because I couldn't access a doctor there. Like so many other people who are in our community, we can't access the doctor. And I'll give you a quick story. So my spouse Jackie just had a recent knee operation. 2 weeks before she went for the operation, she got an infection in her cuticle. She went by the clinic. I can't remember how it worked, but she went in, knocked on the door. They came, opened the door crack, and they said, "Are you a member?" And she said, "No." They said, "Well, we can't let you in." So the clinic is not open to the public, and that's mostly one of the things that I was saying. Where was the public meetings? Your petitions, 4,000 people. There's only 3,200 electorates here. So 4,000 people. You had 2 years to get your 1,000 plus signatures on the local petition. Okay, we were informed that from one of the people who was collecting signatures that they collected signatures in Chase. That's not even in the... I understand your concerns. You're a member of the clinic. You can go to the clinic. So many of us can't. I've heard from so many people here that they can't go. And that's why we go elsewhere, because we can't utilize our clinic. If it was a walk-in clinic, total different ballgame. But it's not accessible to everybody in our community. You have to vote with your heart, with your mind, what you think is best for you. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Gene.
Can I just make a statement on that? Thanks for your question. The health center has been a little bit of a sticking point over the last little while, and that's fair enough. It's an important piece of the community that is going to cost us a little bit of money to make sure that we keep it in place and functioning. The democratic process that has happened, the clinic has gone out and they've gotten signatures from people throughout the community, both online and on paper. And they brought it to the CSRD and said, these are the people who are interested in having the clinic in place. And certainly in my conversations with all of my friends and other people in the community, the majority are well behind that. COVID has posed a challenge in terms of communication. When I was elected 4 years ago, my goal was to have town hall meetings every spring and every fall to get in touch with the community. But how do you do that in the presence of COVID? You can't. So read the articles in the Kicker, you talk to your friends, you go to the clinic, you get information, and you make your best choice. The clinic is a critical piece of the infrastructure of the North Shuswap. The processes have been followed, the information has been out there, and the decision has been made. We are a better community for it.
Sorry, my name's Amanda, and we're in Celesta. So, referring to you,
Hey.
yeah, you say that the information was available. However, I agree with Eugene, I didn't see any meetings. So, what would you do to further, for people that don't agree with your side? I guess is my question, because what your friends and your political views can agree on, there's a different side, and it's not being able to be voiced. So what would you guys do differently in order to allow our voices to be heard?
You understand the question?
Well, not quite. I'm just gonna.
Yeah, can I just maybe ask for clarification?
Oh, yeah.
We're not,
What will we do differently
Yeah.
to make sure the community voices are heard?
To hear the other side's voice to be heard.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
Certainly, my contact information is in the Kicker every month. I'm at the board meetings, and my phone number, my emails. I'm fully in contact with people in the community. When a situation or when an issue like this comes up, ideally, we are able to have community meetings like this, get people together, hash out the pros, the cons, the benefits, the drawbacks of what it's going to take. And on a big issue like the health center, that would be the ideal scenario. But through COVID, etc., it just wasn't possible to pull that all together.
Not true.
So, what I will do differently is if somebody comes to me with an idea such as that, I would, first of all, see how much information background they've got to give me the information that I would need to go forward. I would go to the community and try and find some people who were opposed to it, so I can get both sides. I would, in a meeting like this, I would set it up so that both sides had representatives there who could speak on the subject, and so that there could be debate, discussion, and then if necessary, if we couldn't come to some kind of consensus, maybe we'd hold some kind of a vote, and with majority wins, or we would move it on to a time when there's an election and have a referendum where it doesn't cost so much, because if we're already have all the stuff in place for the election, and to have a referendum then would not be that expensive. And in this case, I asked that they table this until we could get more public input. I brought forward to them, because it hadn't been brought forward before, that our doctor was leaving, and that's got to make a big difference in this whole thing. But if you go and watch the video, I was talking to the deaf ears. It was they were going to pass this through no matter what. But the key is, and that's why I keep saying, I've said so far and I will repeat it, I'm going to represent you, and to do that, I have to talk to you, I have to listen to you, we have to get together and meet and discuss, and then determine how you want to go forward with it.
Thank you, Jay. Ben, you had your hand up. Ben, your hand was up for a question? No, okay.
You forgot what it was?
It's not the time to bring it up.
Your question in the back? Yes, Stan, please. Yep.
Mayor Stewart from Scotch Creek. You were talking about the old OCP plan that from 2008, and I'm a bit familiar with it. I did work on it, and at the time, and I'm just thinking if you representatives would be willing to, instead of spending, I don't know how many, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars to do a new plan, would go back and look at that old plan. I know in the plan, there's already standing Osprey Landing, and there were a couple of RV developments that could be promoted probably into mobile home developments instead, so that it would be more year-round and low-cost housing. And with the water systems now ready to roll, it might be more viable and more economic to look at the old plan and go from there, instead of jumping right into a new plan that may not add very much to it. I know there was also some plans for townhouses and apartment buildings, that those ideas were put forward at the time. I don't know whether the CSRD actually recognized that input. So that's my question.
Okay. Like most of you folks, I think we pay plenty of taxes. And so I would like to, if I'm elected, what I really want to do, because I'm sure everybody would agree with this, is try to find ways that we can better spend the tax dollars we already have. And one of the things that you're just suggesting is true. When I haven't had a lot of time to look through the OCP, but with Larry's help, we did kind of browse through it at least. And there was quite a bit in there, as you say, that is good. And one of the things that hold back the development is the sewer systems. Like what's in there is requires that they hook up to a community system now. It's also there that a small community can build its own sewer system, like they do at Caravan West is one of them. And so they could do something like that. And yes, I don't know, I don't think we have to redo it all. There's certain, at least some things that we can redo, go through it and maybe some major tweaking. But yes, I think that we could save a lot of money by trying to do that.
mean, the answer to your question is absolutely. We will use the documents that are in place to inform us about what can and should be looked at going forward. The old OCP, the one that was done in 2007-8, is a great document. It was done at the time, and it's just a bit out of date. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel, but we do have to get the information built up to tell us where we want to go, what we want to do in the North Shuswap over the next 10, 15, 20, 50 years in order to build an OCP that will begin to get us in that direction. And so the old OCP was a good document. We will use that as a baseline and then move forward from there.
She was first. Sorry, Ben.
Hello, I'm Donald Morelli. I live in England. I feel like I must identify myself as the physician at the North Shuswap. Hello. Thank you to the candidates for coming out to speak with us tonight. I do have a question. Obviously, as we see with the river, our community tends to run on maybe some myths and rumors that may be detrimental. So my question is, when you are listening to the concerns of the community, what's your process going to be in order to vet the validity of the concerns and the background that you're hearing in order to make informed choices for the community and perhaps not making or leading to assumptions?
Jay? Well, as I said, the process is really getting together with the community in a town hall meeting, which I plan to do spring and fall. The other thing is I know many people in the community, from Angamont and Seymour Arms to Lee Creek and Squadax. And I talk to people about what's going on in the community. So I'm getting feedback from a whole bunch of different sources all at the same time. But really the main one is getting together with the community and having a discussion about this in a forum like this, or in addition to bringing out in the picture and getting feedback through email and phone calls. Eugene?
So just for clarification, are you the doctor that's leaving?
I am.
Okay, I'm very sorry to see you leaving. I've heard nothing but great things about you. So I am sorry that So the information that I was given came from numerous sources. Nobody appeared to know that you were leaving until somebody told me actually that you were leaving. And I've talked to some of your patients who, they didn't even know you were leaving. So the key is to get as much community involvement as possible, and that's what I've been saying right from the get-go. I'm here to represent you guys. So as much as you guys want to get involved, that's going to give me the amount of information I'm going to have to deal with. I will also, like I say, try to get more information if there's some specific topic, and I'm not thinking of something off my head, but I'm sure if I can do research of my own on a certain thing and find out, get more information on that, because there is lots of information out there. Well, it's a misinformation as well. But the key is to get the members of the community involved just as much as possible. Because I'm not representing me, I'm representing you guys. So that's what I'm going to do, just as much as I can.
Thank you. Ben?
Ben Van Leeuwen, with the OCP, how many more years do you think it's going to take to get anything hammered out so we can do something? It's been 14 years and we're still dealing with the water sewer, so how much longer is it going to take? Am I going to live long enough?
The way your lifestyle is, Ben, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, probably not then. Like one of the big problems is interior health controls, like the sewer, the septic system. And so as long as
they didn't put the moratorium, CSRD and the OP's the official town plan put that moratorium on water and sewer, so.
Okay,
Well, interior health. Okay.
all right,
They
so,
were never mentioned, sorry.
okay, but that's, again, that's my information, is that that's all controlled by Interior Health. You know, until some developers come in and we can get the chamber and there's a business association as well, I understand, in town here, and some of the, you know, other pillars of the community together, and convince some business or developers to come in and allow some people we already have here who maybe want to develop, get some of that development in. They can set up their own septic systems within their own, if the community's big enough, makes it worth their while. As in, like the hub, they were going to set up their own septic system. So, but until we get a community septic system, I don't think there's anybody here young enough that's going to be alive.
There's one development, they've been at it for 14 years, and it's still no further ahead than it was 14 years ago, so.
Which development has that been?
Osprey,
Oh, yeah.
they've owned that property for over 14
Yeah.
years.
So I don't know what's been holding that up.
The water and sewer,
Okay.
because they want to do the community. I'm sorry,
Oh,
no question.
yeah, okay, but one of the
There's a
things,
lot more to it,
yeah,
that you can't address just with a question or an answer.
yeah, I think,
So am I gonna live long enough to see a change, if one or the other of you?
it's gonna be
You
tough.
haven't answered my question yet.
I think it's gonna be tough.
I got a target?
Like we know that, like Salmon Arm, they can dump their, the wastewater into the lake. I know, I came from Alberta, and something like 90% of the cities and towns dump their water into some water system, a lake, or mostly rivers, I guess. I'm not sure why we have that. That's something that we maybe have to talk to the province and say, well, hey, look, you're holding up our development here. Is that, maybe that's their plan? Maybe they want to keep us like this forever. I don't know.
Jay?
So, Ben, I think your question was, are you gonna live long enough for a new development to happen in Scotts Creek?
To see changes in the OCP so we can.
Okay,
move
oh,
on.
okay, so the OCP is the timeline for that.
Yes,
Okay, I see that, all things falling into place 2 years, given the pace of local government. Probably by the time the next election comes around, we'll have a new OCP. It shouldn't take longer than that. An OCP isn't critical in that we can still have a development start and be in place in the short term. We're talking about Frank's Campground right now. The developer is going to be putting in their own liquid waste, so the sewage system, but they have to be running off a community water system. And so they're going to be taking water from the Saratoga water system, which is the east end of town. You're talking about Osprey Landing. Peter Kingma can get started on that with this water system that we're now going to be bringing into the end of Wharf Road, because they have their own sewage plans which have been approved. So that development can go through once we get this water system put in.
can I just make a statement though?
I guess.
They would have went way before
Of course they would.
if CSRD hadn't keep making promises that they didn't keep, so that they could go ahead. Because they would have went ahead if they didn't keep getting led to believe that the CSRD was gonna do it.
Yeah, I don't know
You
the
can't
stories.
argue that one.
I don't know the stories that you're talking about. Wasn't there, certainly my conversations with the owner there. He hasn't been in any rush because things haven't been happening, so.
And he doesn't have to.
And he doesn't have to, he's got lots of other business going on, yeah.
But if he's been encouraged you to have it by now, instead of this.
You need water, and there hasn't been water.
So, did he answer your question, Ben?
No.
Okay.
Yes, you're gonna die first.
Hi, I'm Lauren Pollard, and I'm chair of the Health Society presently, and I act to the health issues. And one thing I didn't hear is, and this is my question, spoke of talking to the community and the people. But would you make an appointment with the executive director and let her tell you how things are run there? And let her show you what has been accomplished there? And why we have a doctor and more doctors that want to come because of what she has done in that clinic. So would you do that? Would you just talk to the people, or would you make an effort to make appointments with the people that really know?
Thank you, Laura. Jay.
Yes.
Yes, things have been hectic as hell here. As I said earlier, I didn't plan on running here. When I finally, at the very last minute, I was convinced that I should put my name in the hat, and since then it's been, I haven't done this like this before, so it's been really hectic for me. Yes, I would like to talk to her. I've actually talked to a former director of the, or chair of the society. I do have some concerns because in one of her, in the rebuttal that we did on the September board meeting, she basically said that I was wrong when I said the local people can't use the clinic and that there were too many outsiders using the clinic. And yet, as I read a little earlier, in her proposal to the CSRD, she's told us of how so many people from everywhere else was coming to the clinic. So I'm hoping that when I talk to her that I can get some straight answers from her there too. I've been told that when the clinic first started, they had one person operating the clinic, and now there's 3 or 4, and I don't know why they have so many people working there. So I would like to see an audit done on the clinic to see where and how they actually need all this money. And yeah, when there's a meeting with the community, of course, I would like to get her information and input on that. Yeah.
Thank you, Gene. Question right here, sir.
Alan from Anglemont, we're just east of here. We have really good water. What we need is paved roads, falling apart. Today they patched 5 holes. One there, one way up there, one way up there. You're driving roads like this. It's atrocious. And we need some bylaw enforcement on trailers, no septic, no nothing, camping in our, I built a house because we were restricted. We couldn't camp. Now they just do whatever the hell they want.
You mentioned 2 topics. You talked about roads, now you're talking about RVs. So what's your question, sir?
Both. We
Pick
need
one.
to fix the roads.
Okay.
And I know it's highways because I ran into the highway guy up there. And he said, oh, probably not gonna happen because you don't have your taxes. It's got nothing to do with property tax. Correct?
Eugene,
Well, your property taxes contribute to the roads.
Okay.
Sorry, a lot of it's prevention.
Okay, yeah. Eugene. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, talking about, I also have a property in Anglemont. When they redid the water systems here 2-3 years ago, and that was the CSRD, when they went back and redid the patching, it was atrocious. I mean, they talk about Japanese pavement. I'm not sure how far down the ladder that pavement was, but that was terrible. So that is something that the CSRD should have done a lot better job of. Now, the other holes that you're referring to, I'm not sure, but at least where they did all that water treatment, that was CSRD, and they did a real crap job. The rest of it is, as you said, it's highways. They're the ones that have to build the roads or look after the general maintenance of the roads. And yeah, that would be provincial budget, so I'm not sure why your taxes would have to be raised for that.
Okay.
Roads. continually harass Ministry of Transportation about the state of Angelmont's roads, state of Solicitor roads, Scotch Creek, etc. I had a smile on my face back in mid-September because they said they were going to do 10 clicks in Angelmont. Then I got a call about 3 weeks later saying, nope, changed their mind. We're going to go up and do some patching. But I have not been impressed with their patching. And this is AIM, this is Ministry of Transportation, their contractor, AIM. So we continue to lobby, we continue to try to get that. They promised, then they took it away. That's a terrible thing. As far as the trailers and other issues in Angelmont, bylaw officers have been up there, and we have managed to encourage 30 different trailers to remove themselves from their lots. You have to have a primary residence in order to have a trailer. So that's where the issue is, lots of trailers without primary residence. So we have moved at least 30 out. One thing that's coming up, mainly due to continually harassing the bylaw enforcement group, that we need to do something about people who are not following the bylaws. Coming up in the early in the new year, we're going to have the ability to ticket people. And it's something that regional districts typically don't get, but we've lobbied the government and they're going to give us that opportunity. So what we can do is we can ticket people for $50, $500, whatever the number is. If they don't pay, we can give them another ticket. Don't pay, we give them another ticket. Well, this is no different than what's going on now. We give them notice and they just ignore it. So what we can do with a ticket is we can send it to collection. So a collection agency will get all of those tickets, they'll go to the homeowner and try to do their collections. So that is going to give that property owner a little more incentive in that their credit rating will be hampered if they don't pay those tickets. Now, you're not going to get everybody to join in to pay the tickets to clean out the trailers, but you will get more anyway. And we have had some luck, we have had some wins there, and we're continuing on.
Question here.
Just as far as the pothole situation.
Which?
Potholes.
Oh, it's potholes.
That is AIM's responsibility in their contract to fix it.
I agree.
Nothing is done. We have potholes.
Yeah, and when they told me that they weren't going to do the 10 clicks, they said they were going to go up and fix a bunch of the potholes. They'd identified a whack of them that they were going to get up and fix. So
You need to drive up there and see what they did today.
I go up, oh, well, and I know. Yeah, the holes aren't that big. They're actually now a mound, right?
No, go and look.
Okay.
You haven't been up there.
I've been up there a week ago.
Okay. Question right here.
Thanks. My name is Chris Jensen. I live in Scotch Creek. I'm a member of the North Shuswap Pathway Committee, and I'm interested in hearing from the candidates what they propose to do to help further the goals of the committee.
First, I have to say the Pathway Committee has been awesome. They have gone out and put a heck of a lot of effort into trying to determine where and how pathways can go alongside of Squilax Anglebon Road so that we can get the bikes off, the walkers off of the road. At this point, they have focused on one specific segment, and working with the CSRD, we are planning on looking for grant opportunities, active transportation grants, which are out there. They're provincial and they're federal, and the goal is to get those applications in so that we can receive some money and get started on those. Now, this is just a short portion of the path, but what it will do is get us a start. It'll see how much it gets used before we put a whole bunch of time and effort into more paths. So it's a goal of getting it started, figuring it out, and seeing where it goes. Eugene?
When I worked in the oil patch, and we would want something from the company, we'd be told, now is this nice to have or need to have? And The pathways, now I'm not quite sure where they fit in there. But I understand somebody from Anglemont actually was telling me that they had been approved with, I think it was $100,000 to do some pathway along the Squilux and Anglemont, and then that got kiboshed and it's on hold now for 2 years. I think it would be really good, if we could have those pathways everywhere. It's where, like Scotch Creek is it's a small town, and there's no sidewalks or anything. The roads aren't wide enough for, for pedestrians and bikes to go on. But one of the things that I have seen is there is a bike path along the roadway, along the parkway. And what I've seen there is, I see more people walking and riding their bikes on the road than they do on the pathway. So I'm left to wonder then how important these pathways are to the city or to the people. And if I'm elected, I would look at our tax dollars and I would triage them and see what was needed most where. And I would try to put most of that money there. Keeping in mind there are other things that are less important but important to the community. So some little things that also need to be done. So pathways, I don't know much about what you're saying. I know they want to plan to ultimately do bike pathways all along the roads. But it also looks to me like, boy, there's going to be some atrocious costs involved in doing some places. Now, where we can, yeah, let's do it. But in some places, it's going to be, I think the costs are going to be so high, I don't know how we're going to put pathways there. You're not going to like what I said, but tax dollars only go so far.
Thanks, Eugene. Any other questions? Right here.
I'm Phil Walters from Scotch Creek. My wife and I live at this side of Scotch Creek, where TELUS and Shaw refuse to bring reliable internet to us. And we're in Scotch Creek, and we know they also refuse to continue down to Celista and Anglemont. So that's not my question, that's where I start from. So Jay, was explaining, let's get more people in the community. Let's make this community attractive to people to move here. Jay talked about the water systems. Jay talked about, yes, when somebody needs to come up here, they have to conduct business. They should be able to have access to internet. So my question is this business of improving the internet fitting into the coulda, shoulda, woulda, nice idea area? Or what progress, and I know Eugene can't answer this, but what progress has been made so far to get TELUS and Shaw to come this way?
Eugene, you first.
Capitalism is a great thing. Unfortunately, they want to make money at whatever they're doing. And if they can't make money, they don't want to do it. So that's where socialism comes in. So socialism is more about looking after things that capitalism doesn't look after. Things for the people like that. If they won't, if it's not feasible for them to bring it in, why would they? Now, what they did in Alberta is the Alberta government actually started putting in high-speed internet using fiber optics, whatever it is. And so they did all kinds of communities doing that. That's what we've got to talk to our MLAs maybe and get our provincial government to do something similar to that. It's, again, the CSRD, we're limited to what we can do.
But so, the coulda, woulda, shoulda
yeah.
versus what's being done.
Okay.
So the question was, what's being done?
Yeah.
Yes, it's a great idea.
Yeah.
And yes, we need it.
Yes.
What's being done?
Okay, and as you said on that part, Jay would have to answer that.
That's a good question.
Right now,
The grants for internet infrastructure are based on the federal government having a map, a plan of basically all areas of Canada, showing how fast it thinks that community is accessing the internet. And their published requirements are basically 50 gigabytes download, 10 upload. Right now, their plan shows that the North Shuswap basically has that connectivity. Well, you know that you don't. I know that I don't. I know that there's places in Celista that don't. Anybody else not have good internet? Everybody. Yeah, so right now, right this minute, we are doing tests. We're asking the people in the community to go to a special internet address that checks your speed and logs it. And I don't know if you've seen those ads. They've been in the Kicker. There should have been one in your mailbox. Those things are there, and so we're asking the community to go and prove to the federal government that we do not have the access that they're thinking we do. So we're working with a company called iValley. They've put together this test. It's working with CSRD, which is the Canadian Internet Registration Authority. And this testing is showing that there's many places in the North Shuswap that do not have that. So the next step is to take this data that we now have, and that we're still getting, but we're putting it together over the next couple of weeks actually, and then it's going to go into the government. They're going to update their maps, and at that point we can request, we can apply for grants to put high-speed internet into those areas of the Shuswap that don't have it. So that is what we're doing as we speak.
But have we put any push on Shaw? We, CSRD, have we put any push
Of course.
on TELUS?
We talk to those guys.
What are they telling you?
Well, we talk to those guys all the time. What they're telling us is that the federal government is showing that we have that. So they don't have a business case to come in.
Well, the internet I have, if it's a rainy day, it's not there. If it's windy, it's not there.
Yeah.
If there's heat coming off the water, it's not there.
Yeah.
Right? If it's snowing, it's not there. So I don't need somebody to come around to measure when it's just not working.
You have to measure.
Say again?
Just get on your computer and go to performance.siri.ca/Shuswap. And that'll automatically log your time.
Unreliable. There's two answers.
Anyway, we're getting that data. So we take that data, we talk to Shaw, we talk to TELUS, we
And what
say,
do they
look,
tell you?
you can now apply to the government for the grants to put this in. Get on it.
Who applies for the grant? CSRD?
Nope, not going to be Shaw or TELUS or
But who applies for those grants to get them to put in? service?
Shaw or TELUS or
Or they have to apply.
yeah, the ISPs will be applying for those things. So we have to get this valid data and then they can go to TAP.
Sorry to sound frustrated, but it's frustrating.
Well, we all have that moment.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. In the back? Yes?
I'm Danielle Megalon, and I'm also the executive director of the North Shuswap Community. The current community master plan for Area F does include primary health care services, urgent care, and an ambulance service for this community. If you are to adopt a new master plan, will you support those health services, and how so?
Yes, I'm up first. Yippee. Absolutely. I would love to see all those services in the North Shuswap. And I mean, whether the OCP says that or not, taking that to Interior Health or the Ministry of Health is not going to give us an ambulance or that kind of service. We've talked to them, when I was the chair there, we've talked to them about getting better service, more ambulance, road rescue services, blah, blah, blah. And unfortunately, they have their rules. And I don't know if it's because we're not incorporated, but certainly it seems that incorporated municipalities have those abilities to get that stuff. We're a regional district, we're not incorporated, so we tend to get left out of the cold. We still lobby for it, we still work on it. But
So will you lobby with us for it? Because we are in relationships with Interior Health. They're looking at our statistics, they see the growth of this community, and they believe in more services
Excellent, absolutely, I'm honored. Yeah, I'm honored.
Yeah, agree with Jay on that one. Those are services that we really need, and we really want those. And if you are having an inside track, man, absolutely, absolutely. We need, because they're the ones that are basically, they're the ones that dropped our ball in the first place, and so if we can get them to pick it up again, absolutely, that would solve so many of our problems.
We have a question right here.
Hi, I'm Bill from Scotch Creek. I've got a question. I've been watching the hub development a little bit, and I might not be entirely up to date, but I know there was a public meeting that was held by the developer that's had first reading at the CSRD. I don't think it's gone beyond first reading, so it's still under debate as to what the future holds. So I'd like to get an idea of what your vision for the community is. So this is going back to the official community plan or the OCP. And if you were king for a day, what would you see on that site? Because I have my own views, I don't agree with the developer, but I would like to know what your vision is. There's a nice little parcel of land, you don't have to go on forever, it's just, how would you develop it?
Jim?
Okay, I was at that meeting, that public meeting, and so it said that he originally wanted to put a campground there. And most of the people who were at that meeting agreed that that's what they would like to see. Vinco also suggested that our area director shot that down, so he had to go to try plan B or C. The people in that area were very concerned about parking, that there would end up being a lot of parking on Santa Road, just like the way they were going to change that park around. That was going to end up with a whole lot of parking on Santa Road, which isn't designed for that. I would suggest that if they were with the park, if they're going to do that, they need to include some parking in that area. With that whole plan there, one of the things that they were looking at doing where they were going to put the septic system for the development was going to take up a lot of the parking spot area of the hub. Now the hub is required by the Liquor Control Board to have a certain amount of parking. So this CSRD approved plan that we saw at the time, or a proposed plan at least, was going to take away that parking. So I don't know how the hub was supposed to keep its liquor license and therefore its business. They also proposed along the highway a business section, and the people all there agreed that that business section should be a lot bigger. So it sounds, if it hasn't passed 3 readings, then we should thank Jay that at least they're still looking at that, trying to improve that. What's my vision? I'm going to keep saying this all night. I'm here to represent you. What's your vision? You tell me what you want for there, and then I will work for that. Like I say, I haven't been here a long time, and I don't have a vested interest in a lot of things. I came here to retire. I certainly didn't come here to do this. But now that I'm here, I'm going to talk to you and find out what it is you guys want, and then I will push for that. The development, the CSRD can change the zoning, which maybe that's the part that they're working on, I'm not sure. But they can change the zoning to allow something different. But once it's done that, now it's the province, it's the Department of Highways that they determine what it is. So I kind of mentioned that I think a little bit earlier, that once, you know, you can kind of, like they told us there, the engineering firm, that once its zoning's redone, anything could happen there. And we have no control over that, so.
Frank's Campground has got some history. Many years ago, the provincial park didn't take reservations. And so there'd be lineups along Squilax Anglemont Road outside of the park waiting to get in, and when the park got filled, Frank's campground got filled afterwards. Once the park started taking reservations, that basically died. Right there. Hit a wall. And some developers came in, they cleared the land and made it look like a
trees away.
desert out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sold a bunch of lots and then took off with the money, didn't they? Anyway, this is downtown Scotch Creek we're talking about, right? Campground, we know a campground isn't going to work because it didn't work in the past. It's not close to the beach. I mean, you can probably get a few sites going, but it doesn't make sense to put a campground in the middle of downtown Scotch Creek. We took this to the Advisory Planning Commission, which is a CSRD committee that's set up of people from the community. And they were in favor of the plan that the developer came back with smaller lots and the commercial space along Squilax-Anglemont Road. And so that's where we sit at this point. So my vision, if that's the question you're asking me, is to provide an opportunity for affordable and available housing for people, for staff, for the businesses, for the community, in order to make sure that we can grow in the right way that we want to grow.
I just ask a quick question. What's a small lot?
The one that they're planning right now is 15 wide by 20 deep, I think. Meters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
35 by 60.
I can.
Yeah.
So not the size of an urban,
No, it's small. Yeah.
much smaller than an urban residential.
Yeah. I mean, it's what I think their plan is for park models, that type of thing, as tiny homes, small homes. And the other thing that within the zoning plans that we have set up, or that is set up right now for that, if you put in 2 or 3 lots side by side, you can put in townhouses, you could build an apartment block. So there's a variety. It's quite a flexible scenario that is proposed for that.
Thank you for your
Yep.
Question in the back, ma'am.
Just to speak on Frank's campground. Frank's campground was a family campground. We could not get in as teenagers coming in to party and whatever. It was a well-run park. And then when they sold it, that's when they got all cut down. But it was a very good.
Thanks, Jackie.
Any other questions?
Sir.
I'm Jay from Solista. I'm new here. I don't know either of you gentlemen personally, so I'm really looking for the values and principles that you live by rather than how you're handling these individual issues. So I have a simple question, but that's kind of what's partly behind the question, which is, would you be willing to work on funding or increasing funding from the CSRD in support of local agricultural projects or initiatives?
Jay, you're first. I guess I'm first. Okay. Personal moral compass. You want me to start there? Is that what you're looking for?
That's what I'm looking for, but if you just answered the question itself, I'll
Okay.
decipher to that.
So, absolutely. Agriculture, I mean, I'm a farmer too. I got sheep, I got chickens, I got goats, I got whatever. Bees, 40,000 of them plus. So agriculture is certainly important, and agritourism is something that is growing on a regular basis. One of the things that COVID has shown us is that our supply chains are fragile. I mean, who here went out and bought a whole bunch of toilet paper when COVID hit? Really? Good for you guys. Anyway, food security is a critical thing. And I am planning on getting food security in the North Shuswap as one of the top things that I want to, on a personal basis, make sure that we take a look at. So it's going to take an inventory of the farms. What are you doing? What can you do? What do you want to do? And see what we can do in terms of providing you with potentially some more income and providing this North Shuswap with local foods that are grown here and supporting you guys and making us more food secure. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay.
Eugene?
So you're a small farm, you have a small farm, right?
Yes,
I'll try
my
to-
wife and I have 40 acres at this point, just developing.
I said earlier, capitalism is a great thing. And our tax dollars only go so far. And I certainly support local agriculture. I've got to get hold of the guy again, but we've got a pig ordered locally from farmer's market here. And actually trying to get a hold of some lamb. Actually, Jay's got lamb too.
Sold out, sorry.
Pardon me?
Sold out.
Sold out, okay. But when I talk to this guy's neighbor, he's got lambs as well. So, I mean, I do support the local agriculture. I buy garlic locally, we go to the farmer's market and things like that. But, you know, I'm concerned about government getting involved in too many things, because the more government is involved in things, the more our taxes go up. And so, while I certainly support you, and if there was, I'm not sure how the government could support you monetarily wise, that I think the money is actually should be meant for other things. But, I mean, I will support the local farm community with buying their products.
Thank you. Any other questions? Chris?
So thank you, gentlemen, for both spending time with us. I really appreciate that. This question is probably a little bit more directed towards Eugene. Right? So to come in your direction, but feel free to add your part if you want. So, in my view, actions speak louder than words. And by your own admission, you have said you sort of shoved forward reluctant, sort of like when did this activity, right? So, if you're going to represent us, right, can you, and to give you the benefit of the doubt, can you tell me specifically the kind of things that you've done in the past that are public good, that are not just from your perspective or for you, but for I did this for everybody even though I don't benefit, right? Just looking for some examples of things that you've done.
Okay. I used to work for a big oil company, and I was in operations there. And we had an operations management team. And in that operations management team, before I got involved in it, basically what they did was the company had a certain amount of money that they gave out to different organizations in the community. What it was really set up for was to find, in part, grievances with operations management. It was also to, operations had lots of good ideas about how to improve the profits of the company, work conditions in the company, etc. like that. But none of that was being done. Nobody wanted to be on that committee because all they did was talk about the money that they were going to give to the community. And so somebody suggested I do it, and I said, well, okay. So I went in, and for each meeting, in fact, for the whole, about a week or two before the meeting, I would talk to different people, find out what things they wanted me to bring forward at these meetings. I put forms out there that they could fill out to give me ideas to bring forward. They, of course, had my email address that they could give to me. And so when I went to these meetings, I would bring forth their ideas, grievances, whatever else it was, things what it was set up for. And we went through managers about every 3 years. And I was on the thing for, I don't remember if it was 1 year or 2 years, but during that my tenure there, we had a change of management. So before that, and I don't remember what the actual things were, but I brought forward some things that I'd been asked to bring forward to. And the manager said, yeah, we'll look into that. And so at the next meeting we would have, once a month, I would say, so what's happening with this meeting? Oh, yeah, okay, I'll get at it. The next meeting, I would bring it up again. Then we got to change the meetings, and our managers, and the new manager came in. And I said, okay, by the way, the last manager was supposed to be looking into this. And he said, yeah, I'll look into it. The next meeting, oh, he's still looking into it, but I kept pushing and pushing to get whatever these things were done within the company. At the end of my tenure, they were very glad that I was gone because they basically went back to just giving money to the community.
Can I ask for a little bit of clarification?
Okay.
How did that help the public?
Well, it helped my immediate public, if you will, the workers that I work
Well,
with.
that's external.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so you're asking me also that, I'm just giving you an example of how I have worked for those that I was put forward to work for.
I apologize, I'm sorry.
What's that?
I apologize, I'm
What-
sorry.
What are you apologizing for?
I understand now where your focus was. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So just as now, I will fight for whatever it is you want me to fight for. That's what I did for them, and that's what I will do now.
Thank you.
Jake? Did you want the question repeated at all, or?
No, I think what public service stuff have you been doing over the years? In my introduction speech there, I did talk about a few of the things that I've done. Been involved in the community. When I first got out here in 2004, I was involved in the chamber and has been a past president of the chamber and have been a member of the chamber ever since. My dad was a great Rotarian. He was a Rotarian in Calgary for 36 years. And he instilled upon me I guess, the moral compass that a Rotarian has. Is it the truth? Is it fair for all concerned? Will it benefit everybody? And so I went in and got involved with the Chase Rotary Club. I was involved with them for 8 years, and I was a 2-year president there. Adams River Salmon Society, I've been involved with them. I was involved with the Health Center here for 6 years, most of those in either the chair or the vice chair position. Shuswap Waterfront Owners Association, I was the chair of that for 5 or 6 years. So I guess in general, I've never not been involved in a community, in a nonprofit operation. I've been working with the community forever.
So my question that I said to Eugene, I would rephrase it differently for you.
No.
What is the thing you are most proud of that you've done in the community?
Oh, gosh. Well, I guess the thing the health center, buying the clinic was a critical piece to what the North Shuswap has and will have in the future. And I was instrumental in that purchase. So that's the best thing that I've done.
Any other questions? Ma'am?
My name is Diana, and I'm from Amazon. And earlier you mentioned about the red tape in building, and then someone else asked the question about the trailers and stuff, the illegal encampments that are up in Anglemont. And we have called the CSRD, we have called Interior Health, we have called Transport Canada, and we have called the RCMP. Everything said, no, you need to call them, no, you need to call them, and we got the runaround. And then you were saying that we are going to be, or there's going to be a thing in place to be able to ticket these people. And so this is kind of a two-part question. So if they were going to pave the roads in Anglemont, but they took it away, so who is going to ticket somebody starting maybe in the new year, and will they take that away and say, nah, we're not going to do that now? And as far as the trailers go up there are trailers for summer vacations, and there are trailers where there is raw sewage, you can smell it when you go for a walk. And nobody's doing anything about the raw sewage. And so a $50 ticket for someone who has a trailer, built a shed onto the trailer, built another shed, and has another bird hub trailer on the property, a $50 ticket doesn't do much. because they're not moving no matter what. And so the person that's giving out the tickets, are they going to be for all of CSRD, all the way up to the Alberta border? Or is it going to be for the North Shuswap area? So my question is, will they be able to take the ability to take it away? And how closely are they going to actually monitor it and be inspected? Not just a little, slap on the wrist for these people.
Okay, so will they take our ability to ticket away? No. I mean, I guess ultimately they could, but they won't. We just lobbied the provincial government to get that ability. And it's something that we need. I've been harassing them to do something about, the problems that you outlined for 4 years. So finally, we're getting somewhere that we can actually put something that might give them pause. Because in the past, all they basically says, okay, well, so you write me up. You got no ability to enforce your bylaws unless you take me to court. And that, of course, is a very expensive proposition. So I can't tell you whether it'll be a $50 ticket or a $100 ticket or a $500 ticket. Certainly it'll be something that ultimately will be painful to them. And the second part of your question was, sorry.
Just how effective are these going to be?
Right, well, again, what's...
A trailer,
Yep.
just a trailer for the summer is different than somebody living in a 24
Absolutely, I agree with you.
or 12 months at a
So, I can't tell you because there are people that are just not going to care. And if they go to collection, they're not going to care. I mean, there's a certain segment of that population that is just that way. The majority of people will care. Now, you were talking about the raw sewage and things like that. That is, again, it's technically an interior health thing, but what you should be doing is calling the Report All Poachers and Polluters hotline. Because if they are dumping raw sewage onto the ground on their lot, that's a pollution thing. So the RAP line are the ones that should be called for that.
After the old days, and I fought over here.
For me?
I first fought over here in 05. We had our water, sewer, power on, put our motor home up. We spent 3 weeks here camping, clearing our land. We got home, we got a letter, that's as much as my property taxes to get it to me. And I had 30 days to remove, for $200 to take mine. Never happened to that.
Okay, the
I got my
question,
building permit.
excuse me, sir, the question is to her. The answer, thank you.
The thing about laws is the people who obey the laws, and those that don't. And hopefully these fines, I applaud Jay for having moved forward on some of that and correcting some of that situation. I know that's not just an Anglemont thing, it's Scotch Creek. There's trailers there that aren't supposed to be there. Been there for years and years and years, nothing's been done about that either. My understanding is that the bylaws we have are complaint oriented. So if you complain about things, they enforce the bylaws. Now you're telling us that doesn't even work no matter how far you go with it. I don't know the answer. People who don't want to obey the law, they're not going to do it. It's I find our whole society is getting more and more like that. And when we have all these bylaws where a few people or most people even follow them and the rest don't, they're actually training us to not follow the bylaw. If they don't follow the bylaws and get away with it, why, if my neighbor isn't doing it, why am I? So let's scrap the bylaws and bring anarchy or do something that's going to do something. And I say, hopefully what's been proposed is maybe going to do some good because, as they pointed out, when they get these fines, and that's going to show up on their credit ratings if they don't pay them, and And it's gonna affect them being able to get mortgages if they need to do that and stuff like that. So I just hope this will work, and if it doesn't, then we'll have to push for something stronger. But yeah, I see so much of that here. The bylaws are very iffy.
Question?
I'm Gabe from Engelmont, and I just have a question in regard to the red tape that's associated with building here. I'm an electrical contractor in the area, so I work with a lot of people. You guys are throwing out developers and this and that. The vast majority of these places that are getting built from hard-working people. So what I'd like to know is what can be done to reduce the amount of red tape to get people into homes quicker, as opposed to ticketing people, right? Which will also throw in the face of affordable housing. So what can we do to reduce red tape? How do we get people into homes quicker?
Yeah, I agree with you, and personally, I keep hearing this. I mean, we hear this levels of government too. There's far too much red tape. Presumably, once I'm elected, I'll find out what all this red tape is that we're talking about. I actually just had a fellow call me and was telling me a friend is building a house. It took him 4 or 5 months to get the permits. Only took him 6 months to build the house. And that's one of the big things that is slowing down our future development, is this the red tape, whatever this red tape is. And I don't profess to know what it is. I would like to know. I haven't tried to build here, so I haven't run into that. But definitely, if we want to, with the OCP, if we want to grow our communities through increased populations and businesses, we have to find a way to cut the red tape and we have to make it easier for people rather than harder. We have to make it easier for them to move here, for businesses to move here, rather than making it harder. And I'm open to anybody with ideas, anybody who can tell me how we can do this, and I will work as hard as I can to try and shorten that time period and make it easier too. It's not just shorten the time period, because they tell me they go in, like one fellow I know, he went back 2 or 3 times, like doing what they told him to do, and then the next inspector comes out, no, there's something else, and there's something else. Well, he almost quit. He almost didn't build it. And I also know of a couple of people who they bought a couple lots there in Engelmont and going up to the golf course. You guys know about that. Did a whole bunch of work on it, and they ended up selling it. They just got so tired of the red tape. So whatever this red tape is, and I don't profess to know it, but we have to have a lot less of it if we want to grow our community.
Jake?
Red tape is really a function of the government covering its ass.
Yeah.
And it's a challenge to get rid of it. One of the things that we've done over the last couple of years is, I guess, a lot of the development various permits and development permits that have gone through the CSRD have had to come to the board for approval. What we've been able to do over the last couple of years is delegate some of that responsibility to the manager of development services. So if it's not a particularly onerous or difficult situation, the manager of development services is able to say, yes, we can approve that, without having to take it to the board. Taking it to the board means that you have to wait for another board meeting, it has to be debated, and it might have to go to another board meeting after that. So we're trying to cut down some of the red tape by just cutting out the CSRD board from those decisions. So we are doing some of that. As far as other red tape go, as we go forward, part of it is that we all live on a mountain. So the government wants to make sure that you're not building on a slope like this, and your house is going to fall down and land on somebody else's lot. So, things like that, you're always going to have checks and balances for that kind of stuff. A lot of it, though, is also that we're on floodplains. So Scotch Creek floodplain is what we're listed here. And one of the things that's really pisses me off is that if I'm on lot A and I want to build a house, I have to go out and get a floodplain development permit and a water development permit and this and that and the other thing. And then my neighbor right next door wants to do the same thing, and he has to go and get the exact same reports from the same engineer and do the same thing. So he's paying, the engineer gets paid twice for the two guys who live right next door. What I would like to see done is the CSRD do a blanket floodplain report for Scotch Creek, right?
Or a steep slope one for Anglemont.
Or a steep
So
slope.
if you're buying a lot of Anglemont, you need a separate permit for a steep slope.
Yeah.
One for floodplain in
Yeah.
Scotch Creek. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
So what I'd like to see is have some blanket stuff done so that we know that, okay, going down Theodore Road, you don't have to have a floodplain report done by a hydrologist. Haven't gotten there yet. That's a function of money because you got LiDAR scans and this, that, and the other thing that have to go into it. But it's something I've been talking about.
Can I just add one thing to the ticketing? And so, once again, when you're issuing tickets to, it's a really small group of people that are, that are camping out and having raw sewage and, this and that. The bylaw enforcement is gonna spend his time going up and ticketing people that have made a simple deck repair on their house, because they know that those individuals are gonna pay the ticket. If you've got somebody who's camped out shitting in a, pardon my French, but going to the bathroom in a 5-gallon pail, you think they give a damn about another ticket? And you know what? A lot of these people are in that situation because they don't have a choice. They can't afford to play ball with the government and the developers, and it's out of their price range. It's not realistic. So in reality, what we need to do is stop penalizing people that can't afford to live in this modern day world. And we've got to start working with them and reducing, once again, this red tape so that people can just move forward, give them some goals. Hard-working people can start to feel like they can own something again, right? You don't need to build small little tiny lots and have people living in chicken coop style houses just to live in something. Just let's remove the gatekeepers and let people start building and moving forward with their lives. I don't know, it seems simple to me.
I want to talk to you after Gabe and Angela, right?
Yeah.
I was neighbor.
Yeah, and I bought land. Yeah, and I bought land from you too, so yeah.
Have you?
Yeah.
Well, that's why we got you contact.
Yeah, there you go, yeah.
Okay.
We're at a juncture here where we're starting to see people leave, and there's still an opportunity for each of the candidates to make a final closing comment. So I'm going to take it upon myself to make a decision that we're going to cease the questioning at this point. If you want to ask a question of the candidates after this is over, they have email addresses, they have telephones. Make the effort to contact them after the meeting and to have your questions answered. It's getting on now, and by the time we're finished with this, we could be getting close to 20 after 9. It's getting a little bit late, and we are losing people. So
And I really got to whiz.
It was predetermined that Jay would lead off the closing comments to end the evening, so we'll have him begin, and he's going to be given 5 minutes, and then when he's completed, we'll have Eugene make his final comments.
Well, again, thank you all for coming out tonight. I know it's been interesting, some of it's been boring, some of you are, are taking some of this out and making some decisions on this. Tonight, we've talked about, I've talked about who I am, my community contributions, and why I'm the best person to be your CSRD director. We've discussed some issues that the community has and some way to address those issues. Over the next 4 years, I have 2 areas of focus. In conjunction with the community and your community input, we're going to work for today by continuing to help our businesses be stronger, continue to help our families with better internet, affordable housing, better school options rather than sitting on a bus for 4 hours going to Salmon Harbor. We're going to continue to increase the attractiveness of the North Shuswap with recreation and winter opportunities. Continue to advocate for better roads, not just patch jobs. Continue to advocate for better policing and ambulance services and road rescue services. And continue to work to make our communities safer from wildfires. That's something that didn't come up tonight. That's interesting. I know that the community is very involved in fire smart principles, and we are working above Anglemont this fall to clear out some of the undergrowth, and we'll be moving down the lake, and other communities will be getting back right away as well, a couple of years. The second thing that I will be doing is planning for tomorrow. The community needs to have some serious discussions about what we want the North Shuswap to look like in 10, 20, or 50 years from now. We all have a stake in getting the best of our time here in the North Shuswap and making it the best for our children and their children. These aren't going to be my decisions to make, they're yours. You are going to have to put some effort into this. We all have to get together and make these discussions a community effort. The results of these will help shape our short and long-term future. Tonight you've heard from two different people. Some of the things we've said are similar, some of them are different. The view I'm presenting to you tonight is a view to a brighter future with more business, more services, and more choices for all of us. So I'm going to end the night with a couple of questions. Do you want affordable homes and happy families? Do you want stronger business and more choices? Do you want to have a say in how the North Shuswap develops over the next decade or two? If you've answered yes to those, then next Saturday, vote Jay Simpson for your CSRD rep. Thank you. Eugene?
Politicians are like babies' diapers. They need to be changed often and for the same reason. I moved to the Shuswap in 2019. I came here to retire. But I write one lousy letter to the newspaper, and now here I am. You see, I believe in democracy, government of the people, by the people, and for the people, and I wasn't seeing that. I also believe if you don't like the choices, you should run yourself. In this case, there was only one choice, so here I am. But the main reason I'm here was the taxpayer-funded proposal for the medical center and the way it all came about. That's what started all this. I suppose most people saw it as a foregone conclusion, the foregone conclusion that it was, and just threw up their hands. I, as I've been wont to do before I retired, wrote a letter to the editor in the September Kicker. That is when people finally had a point to rally around. And a few individuals, including myself, set out to collect signatures for the AAP that it would have forced some public discussion and a referendum. Alas, we didn't have time enough to organize, certainly not 2 years, and the AAP was defeated. I made one more kick at the can. I did a presentation to the CSRD and the final appeal to them to table the bylaw until there was some public input, and added a piece of vital information, which was that sadly our doctor was leaving. It all fell on deaf ears, as aforementioned. It was a foregone conclusion. Now let me state clearly, I don't believe anyone else wants our clinic to close. We just would like to be able to access the doctor there, which most of us can't. And especially, and even more so now, that we're all going to be taxed for it. So that's why I'm here, instead of relaxing and enjoying my retirement. I believe that democracy and the lack thereof is the main issue here. Where was the public consultation on important matters such as this? So what is my vision for the future of the North Shuswap? I have a better question. What is your vision? I will be a representative of you, the people. Isn't that what democracy is supposed to be about? Aren't you supposed to tell me what you want me to do for you? It's not my place to dictate to you what is best for you. My place is to work for you. That is one of the good things about municipal government. There are no political parties, where the elected representatives actually represent the party and do what the party tells them to do. So I have experienced a few things since making the decision to run. For instance, I now know that the Anglemont Fire Hall needs a new building. There are a number of reasons, including a leaking roof, the actual location is a problem, and that it doesn't meet health and safety standards. It can be closed down immediately. I know that because of the importance of time to get to a site, the Lee Creek needs its own satellite fire hall. I know that in Seymour Arm, they still haven't been able to get funding for a new wharf. A wharf that is absolutely vital to this isolated community. A wharf that has been recently closed because of safety reasons, such that they were no longer able to get insurance for it. Think about that. What is the most vital part of your community? Now I add that it is also a central part of emergency rescue. There have been 12 boat rescues this year so far down in Seymour, plus 2 helicopters. Now take that vital part of your community and make it disappear. That is what the CSRD, under the direction of Director Simpson, has done to that community. It is even more inconceivable and unconscionable, given that the previous director was well on his way to setting up that required funding when he retired. That is part of the challenge here, is rules and regulations are ignored, as we've heard. Others are bypassed using variances. Some places have rules and regulations, others don't.
1 minute.
They either don't or have different ones. So what am I going to do about it? It depends on what you want me to do about it. You see, that is how democracy is supposed to work. I will work for you. One good part of all this is that I come by with very few, if any, preconceived ideas or agendas. This allows me to actually work for you. As an example, my concerns regarding the medical center were primarily about the process. I suggested to the CSRD board that they table the bylaw until some public consultation had occurred, like democracy. Also, until we can get a new doctor and determine how that would look. If a new doctor just takes over the old practice, then we will be paying extra taxes to provide others with health care. If it's a walk-in clinic, then that's a whole different ball of wax. I know that when you take part in the democratic process, you can make a difference. I refer to the AAP on arts and culture that you successfully won. We can bypass all that BS by voting for me. I will consult you before any tax increases occur. Thank you.
I'd like to thank both gentlemen for coming this evening. We had a really, I think, an awesome amount of spent on individual questions, and I think you've got a real sense of what the community is feeling here through the questions that they have presented. So we encourage all of you, besides talking about fish to your neighbors, that you need to go out and encourage your neighbors that on October the 15th that they go out and vote and put their democracy into action. So thank you, gentlemen,